Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Gruber Wired Hour from chilly Phoenix, Arizona. I'm Mark Beach.
I'm John Dotson, and welcome. And wow, had a great weekend. How about yourself, Mark?
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
You say chilly. I'm going to say it's just a bit damp out there.
It is damp. It's going to get wet again in a little bit here. Getting that storm coming over from Cali. So,
yeah, be prepared.
We like it.
Yeah, time to build an ark. It might get a little rain.
Yeah, you know how Phoenix drivers are too in the rain.
Yeah, it's almost like ice.
It is our version anyway, right?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So
cool.
Well, we're right here at the home in the heartland of Southwest in Phoenix, Arizona. And we're going to talk today and start off a little bit about U.S. manufacturing, because that's kind of where our heartbeat is.
Right, exactly. I mean, Gruber is a manufacturer. At the end of the day, we produce the metal products, so everything is fabricated here, as well as doing a very capable cable assembly shop that does everything from copper cabling to fiber, multi-strand. Just if you go through that shop, and you have a chance to see in the shorts exactly what goes on back there.
Yeah.
But it's impressive.
It is, and just to know the fact that Pete started this out in, what was it, 1984?
Yes.
So we're going on, what, 40 years
Yep.
as a U.S. manufacturer.
Yep.
And we just bring a lot of pride and joy into the work that we do here.
Yes.
And, you know, like you said, the structured cable assemblies, the metal products, racks, brackets, shelves, wire management, the heart of this is going to be custom fabrication.
Right. Exactly. You know, the idea is that if you can concoct it, conceive it, we can build it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most certainly. And this has gone on for much longer than that throughout the history. I just lost my headphones here for a moment.
Uh-oh.
So got to change the batteries.
Okay. Well, so I'll carry the water here a little bit. Yeah. The idea behind all this, and our theme today is American made. And when we're talking about our copper cabling, we had Mr. Steven Spoontz on from Quabbin, which is a U.S. manufacturer of wire. So what we do is we promote U.S. made solutions. We know that there are less expensive alternatives out there, but the quality that we produce here, especially at Gruber, is end-to-end the best out there.
And that's what we talk about is quality.
Right.
And when we say USA manufacturing, pride and quality in the product that we manufacture and deliver to our customer. Now, being in Phoenix here in the heart of the, Southwest territory,
Right.
We got a lot of benefits to manufacturing here. And
We do.
one that we don't think about quite often is just the fact that we don't get a lot of natural disasters.
No, it just gets hot.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's hot. And
That's
we get
it.
get a little bit of rain once in a while, like today.
Yeah.
But we don't see the earthquakes and things of that nature.
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
3.5 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
but
nothing.
yeah, it's nothing.
But what that has done is it's brought a lot of manufacturing into our state. A good example of that is the Taiwan Semiconductor going on up north here.
Right, TSMC, and
Yep.
that's one of the initiatives with the CHIPS Act to bring in a lot of chip manufacturing so that the supply chain is more durable than being reliant on overseas factories.
Oh, sure. And we're seeing that just progress and progress and progress, because as you hit supply chain, as we all know, during the pandemic, not too far in our recent past, did bring us some of those problems.
Right. And it wasn't just, chips, but that was a big deal. But even precursor chemicals to produce other things. So, I applaud the initiative to bring back a lot of the manufacturing capabilities inside the U.S. so that we can stand on our own 2 feet. I mean, it's a global economy, but we shouldn't be subject to the whims and flows.
No, we should be able to hold our own, per se. And especially for those people out there that work in the industry and they're doing things like creating data centers, creating all the data communications for their personal businesses as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And field engineer rang in on us here. He says, I watch your power podcast. I did not know about this particular one, and it applies the needs that we have in data centers.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We
thank
appreciate you
very
being
much.
here.
Yeah, we are kind of in conjunction with the power side. And so we like to bring up different topics every week and stuff that we can just talk about that will educate those of you out there in the audience.
Exactly. And we want to be solution providers. We're not by any means trying to tell anybody how to do things. But we want to be a resource, right?
Oh, yeah.
And just like anything else, we provide a value add, I think, because of the broad spectrum of experience. Some people may have, just kind of drill down experience. So I know when I managed my own network, I only knew what was in the network. I didn't know, a lot outside the network, right? So
Sure.
we get exposed to all kinds of stuff every day of the week.
Yeah, so if you have questions out there that pertain to the industry, please chime in. We'll do our best to answer them for you and get you the knowledge and education that you need.
100%.
Yeah, and again, USA manufacturing does come with so many different benefits, and one that we liked again is the quality of our product, which is why we have our lifetime warranty on the products that we do offer.
Exactly. And, one of the facets, and I know a lot of companies struggle with this, is a skilled labor force.
Yeah.
And employee retention as well. And Gruber has been successful in not only getting a skilled labor force, but retaining them. The average tenure, it has to be like 15 years in the cable assembly house at least, right?
Yeah, and no matter how much the technology changes, there's something to be said for that educational background and knowledge that comes along with that.
Right. I think retention is the key. I mean, when in a previous life in the business world, we figured out how much it costs to onboard and train a full-time employee, and it was expensive. And so turnover is costly to an organization, both in resource knowledge, institutional knowledge, as well as just the whole infrastructure that has to support bringing people on.
Sure. And you talk about bringing people on the infrastructure, but what about what it actually provides to, especially our economy?
Right.
On an average, here in Arizona, those who are employed in manufacturing average about $109,000 a year as an income.
Right.
Which isn't bad. That's a pretty sustainable income.
Right. It's like auto manufacturing in Detroit, right? The auto workers are highly skilled and well compensated for that. And here in Arizona, this has become a real tech mecca, and with all of the different technology based businesses, whether we're dealing with Lumen, with the electronic vehicle or electric vehicle manufacturing, Intel, and even before Intel, we had Honeywell and Motorola and companies like that.
IBM
Yep.
is another one.
Yep.
And then aren't they working on a smart city over near Avondale? Is
Well,
that Google?
Well, yeah, there's that. I don't know a lot about that one. I know Mr. Gates bought a bunch of property out west.
Yeah.
And
They are building a solar city out there, though.
Is it?
Are they?
And
Okay.
also, don't forget about back in the day. I'm sure you guys remember a little company called Sun Microsystems.
Yes.
And we also had Oracle here, Adobe, some other ones.
So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, Arizona, because certain people know this, but Maricopa County over the last 25 years has averaged an influx and a net gain of about 100,000 new residents a year,
That's amazing.
sustained for 25 years.
It's been-
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's been able to sustain itself, like you said.
Exactly. And it brings in the skilled labor, and it also expands the ability of businesses to relocate because they have a ready professional
workforce, everyone's here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and it just continues to add growth among many different sectors. And again, being USA, I don't think a lot of people still truly understand what it means. USA, that means you, I, every one of us have an opportunity, like Mr. Pete Gruber did,
Right.
to start out his own business, to go ahead and proceed in a future of owning his own company, especially in manufacturing.
Right. I mean, there's all sorts of deliverables that can be sourced here, and there are a lot of fabrication facilities in the warehouse district here in Phoenix as well, where they will fab plastics, fab metals, and all that. We have our metal shop here to build server racks, shelving, wire management, and you can catch some of the shorts there. And especially if you like, subscribe, and share this podcast, you will absolutely be updated every time there's a new release of one of our shorts that, drills down, gives us a 20-foot level or, deep dive into one area.
Yeah, just a brief moment to show you a little bit of what we do and then how that segments into other crossways between our manufacturing. Malcolm Washington, thanks for chiming in. He says, oftentimes as we work on critical power equipment and data centers, we see your shelves. Awesome. Nice to see the name out there.
Yes. Yes, and it brings up the fact, too, that, for those of you who are distributors or installers, you have a business related to doing those installations, we have the ability to white label stuff. So we can put your brand on there as well.
Oh, most
Not
certainly.
just the Gruber label, but we can promote you. So when they have a new installation, and you can promote your brand by promoting our products.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it goes back into the whole thing of just, being a USA manufacturer, Gruber is, and innovation and technology,
Right.
even the simple types of innovation where we're able to do a private labeling for you. And that goes a long ways. Depends on the design you're looking for.
Right. 100%.
What goal do you want to achieve? We can help you achieve it.
Right. And the fact that there is really no limitation to design capability, if you have something that you've conceived and it can be built, of course, it has to be built at scale. But the idea is that we can do it. Right.
Yeah, just need the information, the drawing. It can come as simple, like I said before. I've had a drawing on a napkin that somebody had an idea for, drew down, made a drawing. Here's what I want. Sent it to me in the mail. We got it. We were able to take that over to our engineer and manufacturing, Chaz, and end up with a quality product at the end of the day.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, but we do lots of things, especially exporting. People don't think about, you're Gruber, you're in Phoenix. We export all around the world.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you, there is, like Malcolm was saying, there are a lot of people who have our, distributors who have our brand spec'd in for a lot of different parts. So yeah, it's not just a Me Too thing. Gruber is established.
We are definitely established, and we see it throughout all types of different. I don't know the word I'm looking for right now.
Yeah, just providers.
Yeah, across the economic scope.
Right.
Everybody deals with this product. Whether you need cabling, metal products for your data center, you deal with it.
Right.
You have to have it.
So anybody watching, now or later, I have a question for you. So what would make you want to use a U.S. made product over something cheap? I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who only focus on the price, and you don't necessarily look at where it's made. But obviously, we promote U.S. made products. So what tips the scale for you? Because you're going to pay more. I mean, we're not paying people $1 a day to build stuff.
No.
Right. So from a cost perspective, there is that delta, right? There's going to be a price difference. But what tips the scale for you? If you buy U.S. made, whether it's equipment or, cabling, whatever, if that's your preference, what tips the scale for you?
For me, it's quality.
Yeah.
And you bring in the fact that everything is regulated. I mean, we've gone through all these different systems, whether it's OSHA, just different types of regulations that we have to make sure that we have a quality product at the end of the day.
Right. And that's one of the things that's the commitment has been made by this company to, identify a U.S. manufacturer of cable so that we bring that in to build, because we could still be, TPA compliant,
A compliant.
The with different cable. We could bring it in from Taiwan, or we could bring it in from somewhere else, but we choose to bring it in from
USA.
the U.S., right?
Of course, we look for those U.S. manufacturers, like we were saying, we were working with Quabbin Cable.
Right.
So we get Quabbin, which is USA made. The RJ45 mod plugs are USA made from Sentinel. So we do pride ourselves in working with those materials as well, which actually in turn helps out other manufacturers of USA products.
Right. And I think, Field Engineer points out many government and federal clients mandate U.S. made, and as well they should, because, it's U.S. tax dollars. So why not go and promote American jobs, right?
Yeah, of course.
At the end of the day, we need to kind of build on each other,
We do. And again, going back to the reference of the pandemic and how we had that issue with supply chains, this is just as we continue to grow our manufacturing capabilities here to supply those materials.
Right.
So that now we're becoming more dependent on each other and keeping the economy within the United States.
Right. And there's a concept that was really kind of was the standard for the supply chain before the pandemic, which was called just-in-time, manufacturing. And so everything followed very closely to when it was needed. So the widgets were produced right when normally that many widgets would be needed, right? And so they made them, shipped them, had them available for delivery just in time, right?
Correct.
And I think that there's been a paradigm shift there to having a more stable supply chain as opposed to keeping everything on an edge.
Yeah, just because we don't know what's going to come down next.
Right.
So
right.
what's going to hold that up?
What's going to be the next manufactured crisis? Not to get political or anything, but what's going to happen next that's going to put us on edge?
Right. Well, I've read a story, an article that even companies today are using AI to set up a secondary resource so that they can kind of take an advanced look of what it's going to be for that supply chain, say 6 months, a year down the road.
Right.
So now they have an A and B solution that they can take a look at.
Yeah. And I mean, critical for business to always have flex plans, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we come down again to the Gruber. And one of the benefits that we have here being local USA made is our lead times. We pride ourselves on how fast and for the quality of work that we do, the engineering what we do to get a product in your hands.
Right. Right. And with that lifetime warranty, it makes it a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah.
Everything is tested before it leaves here. Very rarely is there an incident, and usually it's not Gruber's fault, but we honor it. We honor it.
I had one this morning. A customer had an issue, so I went ahead and just took care of it.
Yeah.
We're taking care of it. A new product is going out. It'll be in their hands tomorrow, and life is great.
Everything. I think people will remember Nordstrom's has I don't know if they still have this policy, but they always had the policy of they would just take care of the customer. So it meant whether it was something they sold or not, they would take care of it.
Yeah. And again, U.S. employees, customer service, it's just a different level of experience here at Gruber.
It's an attitude. It really is. And, I won't name names today, but I had the unfortunate experience of dealing with, let's just say, a seller of a lot of products and their support system, or their non-support system, as I was calling it, because it was, there's a problem, and how you deal with a problem as a company is really what either makes a customer walk away or makes them stay, or gives them an incentive to stay. Because people, when they're encountering a crisis, a situation, whether it's big or small, how you respond is 100% everything. It's the image of the company. It's your own personal credibility at stake. And how you respond to that is what people will remember about you, because, cables, right? But they run into a jam. They need something right now. They tried to source it from somewhere else. It didn't get delivered on time. Can you help us? Right.
And the best part of that is it gives me another opportunity to get out in front of you.
Yep.
to be able to prove myself once again that, I can help you.
Right.
I'm here
exactly.
for you. And yeah, that whole bit just keeps, customer service.
That's what keeps people coming back. It's like that one hole in golf, right? Yeah, you may stink up the whole course, but you par or you birdie a hole, and okay, well, it's not totally a disaster, right?
Well, I'm driving the cart watching you. I don't golf. No, but it kind of put this down a little bit to a low rumble. The customer service side of the thing is there's always an answer.
Right.
Always. We will find the answer for you. Now, sometimes we might not like that answer.
Right.
But we do our due diligence, do our job, and we find an answer that is suitable.
Right. And one thing that I believe in, and I know you do too, is being direct and honest with the customer, being transparent with them, saying what we can do and what we can't do, what to expect, because it's not just, can you help, but sometimes it's tell me what to expect. So what is the delivery time going to look like? If you're tempted to get into salesman mode and be elastic with your projections instead of accurate, then people can't rely on you. So being truthful, being accurate, being transparent when you run into things, that's really what builds a brand. It's what builds a relationship.
Yeah, and as much as we talked about the quality of the USA product that we manufacture, we need to also give credit to the staff here and the quality of the staff that we do have here at Gruber.
They stand behind everything. They really do, and it's not, it's a personal. It's a matter of pride.
It is. Yep. It really is. We're going to start trying to do some different things, get you some more information, some more education. So now we're going to get a little bit into cybersecurity.
Okay,
this is
John's corner.
Yeah, my little corner today. Talk about a little bit of cybersecurity and what's out there and why the need for it.
Yes.
I think we've all encountered this at some point in time. I don't know, but not too long ago, a few weeks back, my wife all of a sudden realized that down in Tucson, she ordered over $300 in pizza.
Oh, hey, did she like it?
We don't know. Never got a chance to taste it. We haven't been to Tucson. So somebody somehow, some way got a hold of her debit card information and was able to order up some pizza. We were able to track it right to the pizzeria where it was sold. And, believe it or not, it was just a matter of a few days. Everything was resolved. The money was back in our account.
Yep.
But just the hassle of having to go through that.
Yeah. No, I recently went through that too and had to reissue my debit card because all of a sudden there were these weird charges that started showing up for purchases. And I'm like, no. And I think it was on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, but they weren't from me. And so it got cleared up and B of A just, reversed everything and took care of it. But I'm pretty careful when it comes to where I put my information. So
I, on the other hand, not so careful. Man, if you are like me out there, you have a million different passwords.
Right.
And try and keep track of all those. I can't.
Right. Right.
I have it written down on a piece of paper. Well, someone gets that piece of paper and I lose my passwords, right?
Yeah. No, I get it.
But that just brings up the whole new system of security, especially what we're dealing with internally, as well as those expansionally outside of, the workplace.
Right.
Every device that we have now, whether it's your phone, laptop, computer, deals with some sort of security, and then all the apps that are involved in that as well.
Right. And it involves making sure that you stay updated with current versions on your phone. I know a lot of people don't check. You don't look at your phone. You don't update when you should. And, I update about 2 or 3 times a week. Just make sure all the apps are up to date. All the security patches are in. Same thing with my computer at home. You have to be vigilant to protect your assets.
Yeah, you do, especially with the rise in AI and the deception that those people out there are going to use that AI to do, deceive people and do bad.
Right.
So they're developing those programs to get into, worms and everything else. They can just crawl right in there and looking for ways to get through your firewall.
Right. Right. And it's very important to make sure you have your guard up.
Just reading a little bit of this here. One of the newer concepts is zero trust cybersecurity.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that?
No. Tell me about it.
It means you just have the concept of not trusting any entity.
Okay.
So everything you have has password identification, and now they have capability of you having secondary forms of passwords and things that we've all seen this. You get a text on your phone with a code.
Right. Two-factor authentication.
That's it. That's the words I was looking for.
Yep.
Starting to see a lot more of that out there in the world.
Right. And there's also generators on your phone. You have Microsoft code generator. Google has a code generator, and you can use that as your two-factor as well. So, I kind of got soured on the idea of using code generators when I had switched phones and I had to use the code generator, and it didn't transfer to my new phone. I had to add it again, but I lost my codes. Oh. So I wasn't able. I had to write into the company, give my ID, and then they reset me up and took two-factor off so I could re-add it.
So you could add back in.
Yeah, I didn't use code generator on that second time around, but it's a tool. I think it'll get perfected like anything else.
It will, and this can continue to grow that way too.
Yeah.
Especially as we see more advancement coming in technology. Aaron, any thoughts on your cybersecurity? What you guys do on your end over there?
We try not to use passwords that are 1, 2, 3, 4 or password. No, we have a verification process that we go through. It's a little complicated with media because we have multiple people logging into the same media account from multiple computers. So we got to get creative at times. And there's certain times where the Instagram last week we had too many people signed in and too many activity, and so when we were going live on our phones, or through Jesse's system, sometimes has a tendency to knock us out.
Really?
It's kind of a pain, but we get it's there for security.
Now, do you use the two-method authentication?
Two-factor authentication. Yeah.
Yeah, we try to do that as much as we can. Certain, I know, social medias make it even harder for multiple logins, so sometimes we can't always, but we try to do that when we can.
Yeah, nice.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, the other part of this I want to talk about today and get into is IoT.
Internet of Things.
Internet of Things.
Yes.
And if you're not sure, the Internet of Things is pretty much an Internet of all things.
Yeah, right. and it's we'll talk about it in a little bit, but Internet of Things applies to manufacturing too.
Yeah.
Yep. Connected devices that give feedback. Whether it's sensors or robots, and I learned a new term, cobots.
Cobots, yeah.
Yeah. So those are robots that are not autonomous. They help a person rather than do the whole job. They help the person do the job.
Correct. Yeah. I was reading about that through Tesla over the weekend.
Yeah.
He's projecting to have like 20% workforce being robots by 2025.
I mean, that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Hey, Jesse, do you have that picture for the IoT of things? We'll throw this up there just so people have an idea of what really is going on. And it's all based around the cloud system.
Right.
And there's different various clouds out there. You have just basically a simple cloud, which would be like, let's say I'm a college and I just want my cloud hovering over my college campus, and we're just going to take care of everybody that's surrounded with this in this environment.
Right.
And then you have the metaverse cloud, which is pretty much everything.
Right.
It's hanging all the way up there. You have personal clouds for homes. You have multi-use clouds. Let's say that you have a couple of different universities that want to work together. So they will encourage and have a cloud that brings them both together for both campuses.
Right.
And so forth. So there's lots of different things going on with these clouds. Well, what the cloud does basically is it's just more like a information highway.
Right.
It takes information from this location, brings it up here, and puts it down and back over here to this location, whoever's in need of the information that's being transferred at the time.
Right.
But multiple devices are hooked up to these clouds. As you can see here in illustrating the picture, you got the consumer part of things, which is our phones, your TVs. Now they got footwear and other outerwears that have technology in them.
Right. Right. Yeah. For, fitness devices, things like that, your watch, even your car can be part of your Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you have, back down in your home, people don't realize a lot. Well, I think we do realize we go out and purchase these products. Like for instance, my washer and dryer are Bluetooth capability. We can hook right up. So is my refrigerator, my washing machine, dishwasher,
Right.
television. We all have these devices in our home, and it's the fact that they all will connect and come together.
Yep. It provides, it's just convenience. Again, you have your security, cameras, sensors, smoke detector, carbon detector type of connections there that connect into your network. What else?
Oh, yeah. And as you travel out into the world, now you're running through all these different zones and different clouds throughout your entire day. So you start off with, like, say, your own little personal scenario at home.
Right.
I'm on my way to work. I drive by a McDonald's and your phone goes, hey, want to connect to the internet at McDonald's?
Right. Right.
So all the way along, we're being bombarded by all of these signals coming in, wanting to grab us, wanting to take that information, and say, okay, come join me in this particular cloud. And it just continues throughout our entire day.
Right. Yeah. And that, some people, I'm sure it's happened to everybody out there where you are talking about something, buying something, going somewhere or whatever. And then all of a sudden you see ads on your phone for it like instantly. Right.
Yeah.
So it's always listening.
It's always listening. And,
Yes.
it's just one of those things where recently, there's a new app on iPhones where you can share your information with somebody else's iPhone. You just come to the same location. I believe that the range on that's about 10 meters.
Okay.
So if you're within 10 meters of someone, your information is kind of zoning all around you.
I know I'm aware of like AirDrop, which people were abusing a little bit.
A little bit. But but we're connected all the time to these scenarios and all these things going on. And if we get over the other side, industrial, a lot of times we don't think about transportation, whether it's a city bus, Uber, your own vehicle.
Right.
You have all these different signals going on.
We have all those Waymo cars, autonomous cars riding around Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's
Hi, Pete. Gotta say hi, Pete. Hi,
hey,
Kim.
Hey, Pete. Hey, Kim.
Welcome.
Good morning. So my son and his girlfriend take the Waymo often.
Do they?
Yes. If they're going somewhere, they just take the Waymo. It's easier. They live in like an apartment building in downtown like Tempe, and so it's easier than operating a vehicle down there. Yep.
Sure. Now they're going to have access for the Waymos to drive on the freeways here.
Yeah.
So they're mapping that out as well.
And those that makes sense. I mean, the operating on the streets makes me a little more nervous than the freeways. The freeways, I could see
Be a straight shot.
Yeah. You're not going to have pedestrians running out on the freeway. No bicycles. That to me that's an easy field to navigate. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they had to do the hard part first, which was the neighborhood stuff.
Yeah.
In order to
map it out. We're a great place to map it out because we have a grid system here.
Yes, Phoenix is a grid unless you're on Grand Avenue.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But back to Internet of Things, this is going to continue to grow as products come out on the marketplace, and they're apt to sharing more and more and more all along the way.
Right. Yeah. It's as you said, whether it's autonomous vehicles, Ubers, Lyfts, light rail, there's all of this ballet, this dance of coordination that goes on, and it's all possible through Datacom.
It is. And it goes back to the fact of cybersecurity. You have all this going on. Security is very important.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take much. One of those links goes out of sync and you better watch out.
Right. I forgot what that movie was called now. It just came out. The one where where the grid goes down and they get stuck. It's a Netflix movie, and so they take control of the take control of the Teslas and they're ramming them they just get them from the factory and ram them all into each other.
It's called Leave the World Behind.
Leave the world behind. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah, interesting concept.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was pretty wild.
But it wouldn't take much if you stop to think about it, fathom of it. It would not take much for, I want to say, a satellite, something goes down and all of a sudden cell phones in an entire city aren't working.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one thing now that's such a common device for everyday use that it would cause a huge stir, pretty big problem.
Yep. Have your go bag ready.
Yeah, exactly. Earlier, John, Mark asked about the U designation origin. As usual, we got a video coming here pretty soon in regards to that to find out why the U system is used in metal products.
Right. So what they're talking about is rack units.
Yeah.
So what defined a rack unit? Who originally defined it, and why is that the standard? And that's a question we're going to answer in another podcast.
So coming soon to a podcast near you.
Exactly. And we're gonna in a couple weeks we're gonna do a Super Bowl themed one as well. Talk about tech at the big game.
Yeah, we've done some of this before. Now we get more in depth and speak a little more on what's going on with that.
Exactly. Maybe we can grab some resources and have little chats, throughout the podcast. And also we've talked about before. And so somebody I talked to last week, one of Bob's clients, is actually out by near the TPC out there.
Oh, nice.
And was talking about all the towers that are put up for those hundreds of thousands of people that are on the golf course, right? Can you imagine the logistics of that? I mean, let's say 300,000 people are out there on a Saturday, and how many are going to connect, right? 50,000, 60,000 at a time? Concurrent connections,
yeah.
Has to be able to handle all that throughout that golf course.
So that's something to bring up, and talk also about the transportation side of things and the mobile applications of mobile data centers that are used in those scenarios.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your corner, I got a corner. Mark's got himself a little corner here in a segment
corner
we're going to talk about.
Right. So this is something that we could probably do a couple podcasts on, but we'll just talk about a few things here, which is, 2024 manufacturing outlook. And the very first thing really that they bring up is the skilled labor force and the challenge of maintaining a skilled labor force or acquiring one to begin with. And so one of the things they talk about as one of the solutions is hiring retirees. Because there's a lot of resource there that is going untapped, unutilized, and I won't say why that's so valuable. I won't slam another generation, but there's a certain work ethic that needs to be modeled for people to understand how it got built to begin with. Sure. And there's a certain generation that has that modeling, or has that work ethic. They can model it for a different generation that may not have it.
Exactly. And we all know the difference between street smart and book smart.
Right.
And if you talk about retirees coming out, to lend a hand and give a help, we're talking instant just knowledge and education from day one.
Right.
All those years, you can't replace that in a book.
No. And there are things that may come up infrequently, but a more seasoned expert may have encountered it over their 30, 40 years of industry experience. So it makes a big difference when you look at how quickly things can get solved or how they can get solved efficiently as opposed to, it's what's the saying, to a hammer, everything is a nail, right?
Right.
That's when you don't have education or experience behind a solution, everything's a nail.
Yeah. But the education is coming. Changes are being made. If you notice, we talked about earlier about Taiwan Semiconductor going in. They already have programs in place at ASU to help educate the workforce for that particular technology of manufacturing.
Right.
So we're starting to see that transition come in for the manufacturing sector. And I think we'll begin to see more of that as more manufacturing, looms over us.
Right. I think, locating in Phoenix has always been a great solution. And people are starting to realize now that, oh crap, I wish I would have gotten in 20 years ago, because it's the workforce, the environment, the educational level in the area. I mean, ASU has the highest enrollment of any institution in the country. Did you know that?
No,
Yeah,
I did not know that.
they have the highest enrollment.
Wow.
And now some of it's because it's a party school, right?
Yeah, right.
Which, if you, depending on what TV shows you watch, they always slam ASU for being a party school, but they produce a lot of people.
They do.
They produce a lot of quality engineers. Yeah.
That's the key is quality.
Yep.
It's the quality of education that they're producing over there.
Right.
Yeah. And some of that comes from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act.
Right.
That we're seeing a lot of that kind of rollout, the money's given to these other institutions, to help along with the education.
Right.
You also have the CHIPS Act,
Yes.
that is prevalent here that's being used quite often.
Right. And there, I think there is a role in government to incentivize certain activities, especially when it relates to critical infrastructure, and manufacturing is critical. Making sure that our supply chain is resilient and not dependent on foreign suppliers, I think is essential.
Yeah.
And we got a rude awakening during the COVID issue, and so the idea that supply chain just came to a grinding halt and was under the control of other governments, not U.S.
Yeah.
And things stopped, and we had to wait for things to start back up. We're dependent on it. I'm all in favor of anything that promotes U.S. manufacturing onshore to make it happen.
Yeah, and we need more of that. We need
more.
to become more sustainable upon ourselves.
Yep.
And since passage, as you're reading here, since passage of the IRA, close to 200 new clean technology manufacturing facilities have been announced.
Right.
And that's another direction that everybody's moving, is to clean manufacturing. So we're seeing a reduced carbon footprint on the manufacturing that will be coming out in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Don't. Well, you're going to get me started here because
I'm trying to go.
Yeah, you're goading me. Let's reduce our carbon footprint so those companies can have carbon credits that they can sell to somebody else, and so the same carbon gets reused anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It's great.
Okay.
Great benefit.
Right. It's all it is. Yeah. It's a shell game at the end of the day.
That's all it is.
Hey, convince me I'm wrong right now in the comments. Anybody? Yeah. No. Okay.
No, can't do it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, look, I think, I'm all for being responsible. I'm all for corporate responsibility. I'm all for individual responsibility, but I'm not for the government making somebody do something, which is part of my makeup is, individual liberty, business liberty. Now, does somebody have a right to infringe on somebody else's liberty? No. Right. Mm-hmm. So business doesn't have a right to pollute. Right. But there are mechanisms in there for it. But unproven science and making businesses comply with unproven science is foolish.
Yeah.
That all it does is stymie creativity, it stymies growth, and it hinders.
Unproven science. That worked in that movie Weird Science. Remember that? It worked out for those guys.
That's a completely different subject, probably for a different channel.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. But, the idea is that, we and this shouldn't be controversial, but it is.
Yeah.
Because there are people who just jump on and believe that, there's doom and gloom ahead and there's some kind of dystopian future that we are destined to have, and that's just simply not the case.
No, we are going to have a big, bright, beautiful future. It's out there.
I mean,
we're
again,
working towards
so
it.
I got a question for you,
Yep.
Mark. Last summer, it's pretty hot, right?
Yep.
It was the hottest, longest, consistently hot summer ever recorded in human history of recording history, right?
Which is only 120 years out of billions of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right, but in every year we recorded it, it's got progressively hotter, and last year was the worst one ever. You think that's just coincidental?
Yes. I think it has to do with simply the cycles of this planet. I think we're arrogant to think that we can control the weather, that we can control the environment. I think when you have 9 billion inhabitants of the planet, there's going to be some CO2 emissions because that's natural for humans. And I think that when you examine, they have examined geologically layers and drilled back and seen at some points in history higher CO2 emissions prior to manufacturing prior to the Industrial Revolution, prior to cars, prior to anything. So I think that it's the height of arrogance for us to think that little man can produce enough to move the needle. I think that we have sun flares, solar storms that come our way. I think that we have a lot of outside influences. We have geologic influences, volcanic activity. We have a lot of things that influence the climate on our planet, and man is not one of them.
Well, I think we're a piece. I think we're a piece of the puzzle, if you ask me. Do we cause this? Yes, we do. We put X amount of carbon out into the atmosphere. We know this. I mean, that's just the science of it all. But we are a piece of the puzzle, not the direct whole picture of the puzzle.
Yeah, right. Millions of years ago, even a couple hundred years ago, we weren't mining.
No.
We weren't, how many billions of people, like you mentioned, right? Our impact and our technological advancements and the way that we're impacting the earth has increased to a point now where it has never been in the past. We've never done the things that we're doing now in the past.
Well, if we weren't mining, then where did the swords and shields come from for the Roman Empire? If we weren't smelting back then.
I'm talking about the fossil fuel specifically.
Specifically fossil fuels. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still...
Or geothermal, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, an eruption of a volcano has far greater significant impact on the planet. Yeah, so I mean, it's, to me...
If a volcano erupts, we don't want that either. If we have a super volcano go off, then we're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, we are.
Right,
but a volcano is not man-made.
Right, but neither is climate change. There's no such thing as man-caused climate change. It's a mechanism for governments to control people and businesses. And that's all it is. Just like we had the acid rain, problem, and we had the ozone hole, hole in the ozone.
That's sealed up.
Right.
We're almost done. It did.
Right. I'm telling you, every 10 or 20 years, there's some kind of alarmist mentality that brings us, brings a certain element of our society to heal is exactly what it's done is try to force control over people and over businesses by creating false alarms on non-existent problems.
So if the government already has control over fossil fuels and already regulates it and has been controlling it for 100 years, why do they need to exert further control?
Over business, over people.
They already have control over the business.
No, but they don't, though.
They have full regulatory control over the whole fossil fuel industry.
Well, you have the idea of, by regulatory control, you have to deal with who's in power, right? And there's certain people who are more inclined to be controlling than other people.
But wouldn't it make more sense that all the trillionaires in the oil industry who have bought and sold all of the politicians, wouldn't it make more sense that they would be the ones in control, keeping it the way that it is? Why is it changing, and why is the guard changing when they've already had everything set for over 100 years?
I don't understand the question.
The point of what I'm saying is that the status quo is being broken by what we're doing with the move to EVs and with the move to climate change. It's not a mechanism of control. We already have had control. For the last 100 years, everything has stayed the same, and the people in power have stayed in power. That's shifting now.
I think the shift comes just because of the technological advances that we have. We now have a capability where we can look at controlling some of these things.
Right. Well, let me tell you, where does the electricity come from to go into that EV?
Coal.
Solar.
Nuclear.
No.
There's multiple.
Solar is like nothing. No wind. It's just fractions of a percent.
That's another thing that's changed dramatically. Now here in 2023, solar is 1,000 times what it was 50 years ago.
So now it's 1/1000th of a percent instead of 1/1,000,000th of a percent.
But progress is what we're talking about.
Right, but now, okay, let's talk about solar. Where does the energy come from to manufacture the solar cells?
I mean, we trace the roots of all of this back to fossil fuels. I understand that.
For now.
But as technology changes, you'll see the concept of that change as well. And I still think fossil fuels is a renewable energy source, and it's been proven to be renewable. It just takes billions of years to create.
Right. And it's not from the dinosaurs. But, that's a different subject. But the idea is that, it's a shell game at the end of the day. You're fooling yourself if you think that EVs are carbon neutral. Even when they're manufactured, where's the energy come from to power them? Nuclear power, which, I support that. I think if it's safe, it's the best alternative that we have as far as power sources, because there's no pollution resulting, but there's, coal
Nuclear
plants.
fusion is definitely the future. Yeah. I agree on that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And what we're seeing is the progression, again, of technology throughout the landscape. They're going to progress us to these other advancements.
Right.
Like I said, we're a piece of the puzzle. The one thing that we don't talk enough about is that the world is evolving too. Just as mankind has evolved, the world itself is still evolving every day, adjusting, compensating per se for the nature of things.
Right.
And so we're not sure because we've only been able to study it for X amount of time.
Right.
So we've got a small history of study done on the planet Earth, and at this point in time to understand where we're at and where it's going.
Right.
I do think everything is implicating to the point of, let's control what we can control. I'm not saying it's an end all. But what we're saying is, let's do what we can, like you recycle at home.
Right.
I recycle. I drive less than usual, but that's just circumstances. But there's all these different factors.
Right. And there's evidence that, at one point in time, the Sahara Desert used to be fertile. Mm-hmm. It used to, there were rivers there. It was lush. Everything was great. Something happened, and it wasn't man caused. It was something shifted, and so the earth goes through cycles. It's a thing, I believe in personal accountability, personal responsibility, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do in business. Most businesses are good corporate citizens, so they'll do what they do. But the idea of the government forcing anybody to do anything is where I draw the line. And that's what I'm saying. It's if you want to believe in climate change, man-caused climate change, you have a right to believe in that.
Oh, certainly. But
you don't have a right to force me to believe it.
Correct.
Right? So I examine data too. I look at data. I listen to people, and I have my own experts, and they have PhD at the end of their name too. So, when we force people to do something, that is a bridge too far. It's beyond the pale
so
at that point.
Walk up to the bridge, but don't cross it.
Right. It's that's where things go off the rail for me. That's where they lose me. When I'm going to act responsibly, I'm going to put my recycle in, even though I heard that in Phoenix, even though you throw your stuff in the recycle bin, it doesn't really get recycled, which I heard that. But
we have to have a climate change podcast.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Hey, let's go.
We'll get some experts on, do some Zoom calls, and get some real answers going.
That'd be fun.
Experts.
No, I want to know your experts too. I want to see these people.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you some links.
So, Jesse, I know you talked about before about where we're at in AI,
yep.
And the advancements coming this year is going to be like a freight train.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you seeing as far as CO2 emission reduction? What's your outtake for the future? Are you seeing the same type of movement?
Well, for AI, there's a lot of modeling tools that are being used. So, whereas people in the old days would have to review the data themselves, right, and go through it and pour through all this information. Well, now it's not only actual recorded history data that we're going through, it's simulating the future. So we now have these powerful AI models that can run 1 million simulations of different potential outcomes based on different things like fossil fuel usage continuing at certain levels, or whether there's a full transition to EVs in the next 10 years, or whatever the different models are. They're doing these simulations en masse that now are giving us a better picture of, we do this is the result, or this is 500 potential results with these slight changes. So those models are now being accelerated, We just need the compute power to keep up, really.
Well, one of the biggest computers in the world, the most powerful computers in the world, does what? It predicts weather.
Yeah.
I don't need to say anything more, right? The Earth is going to do Earth. It's going to do what Earth does. And they can't even predict with accuracy, with some degree of, certainty, but not completely fine-tuned where a hurricane will land, right? So, and these are the biggest computers in the world that are doing climate science, right? For weather.
Sure.
Not anything else, just weather.
But I'm okay with taking those models and understanding those models as part of the equation, not the whole equation.
Right. I mean, look, at the end of the day, so when we're talking about AI and modeling as it relates to manufacturing, they're incorporating AI into what's been 30 years of computer-generated modeling so they called it twinning of prototypes. So they would twin the prototype on a computer, and they've refined that technology. Now they're bringing generative AI into the twinning process so that they can make variations to models of different devices or equipment or whatever, and be able to anticipate how those modifications will perform in the real world.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, they're digitizing that.
Right. And so the modeling before was all, CAD and all that. Now they're starting to incorporate AI into that process.
Yeah, and the more they digitize it, they're enhancing the performance of the resilience of what we're able to do as far as supply chain goes.
Right, and they're going to bring it into the VR world as well. So they're going to be augmented reality, 3D technology to be able to do collaborative design in a virtual environment.
Yeah. Let's see. Kim chimed in. More policies make it harder on the owners and the industry to run things their way. And that is true. I mean, we're going to see those obstacles as they do come along, and as the owners have to approach them and how they're going to approach the manufacturing process with the changes.
Right. If industry doesn't drive the equation and government drives the equation, we're all in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the government is good at nothing. The government
understand what they're saying, though, in this kind of a statement. And I understand what Kim is saying as well and what you're saying. We don't want the governments to tell us how to run our businesses. But at the same time, when a government is telling you, hey, don't put so much of X chemical into the air, that's a pretty standard thing. It's the same way a police officer pulls you over when you're driving too fast. You have to care about the environment and the people around you.
Right, but there's consequences. That's the thing, and when you're talking about EPA and those types of issues versus, the theory of carbon emissions and whether, that's
when you burn something that's in the earth and you put it into the atmosphere, by definition, it's going to affect the atmosphere. Now, we can debate all day how much of an impact that's going to have, but when you take something from the ground and put it into the air, it's going to affect the air. That's just the way that it works.
Right. And if I ingest something that's not good for me, I'm going to get sick. But it's if I get exposed to an illness, I'm somebody that's sick, I'm going to be ill. I mean, you can what if it all day long, but when you start forcing business and people to do things because of what ifs, then you're going to go down a rabbit hole that you're not going to be happy living in.
I agree on that.
The what if on the other side of the flip of the coin that, okay, all of a sudden we give everybody in Phoenix 7 new trees to plant, and the effect of those trees removing carbon dioxide out of the air and putting breathable oxygen back in the air.
Sure.
I mean, those are things, like you said, once you go down the what if path, you've lost the game. It's done.
Right. And we look, there's nobody here who wants an unhealthy earth because this is our home. But what we don't want is stifling innovation, stifling regulation and control.
What do you think about this, though? Say we ban coal tomorrow. All of the money that goes into coal then goes into nuclear. I think that's a good thing.
Well, market forces could drive that, but I don't believe that the government belongs in controlling that. I think that 30 years ago, when Palo Verde, by the way, was the last nuclear power plant built.
Right, but that's my point. That's my point. That was however many decades ago.
Because of government control.
Not because of government control, because people are making money in an industry that should be dead, in coal. They're making money in mining. They're making money in industries where we have technology that's past that.
I'm saying
now.
people freaked out because of nuclear power and they stopped building power plants 30 years ago.
Right.
So that was a knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Just like man-caused climate change, a knee-jerk reaction. The ozone hole, a knee-jerk reaction. Acid rain, knee-jerk reaction. They don't know what they're talking about. They'll never admit it because they want to control people. That's exactly what's happening.
And
period.
Part of that control at the end of the day, we got to realize and come down to is that, you know what? It doesn't matter right now in our current situation at the end of the day. You do your part, I do my part.
Right.
We're asking people of the United States to do their part. But as much as we can do, the rest of the world needs to do their part too. I mean, part of the equation is we're talking about this whole issue with global scenario, but only what we can do here in the United States.
Right. The vast majority of polluters are not in the United States.
That's very true.
And until we find a way to, and I think this is where the technology will drive it to go, to come up with solutions that will help these third world countries achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve.
Right. I mean, it's like getting in a boxing ring and having both hands tied behind your back and saying you can only headbutt.
Yeah.
And the other people can punch, right?
Yeah.
Stymieing the United States is the absolute worst thing we can do. And we get this, bleeding heart mentality that, we're going to look out for the best interests of the world here. We're going to lead by example. But, we fractionalize, we represent a fraction of the problem, and we can come to the table with solutions, but it never gets fixed. And then we tie our businesses, our people to rules that no one else is following. And it's absolutely insane.
But that's where we have to be. Why? Because we are USA manufacturing. We pride ourselves in our quality, and those rules and regulations are part of governing the quality that we want to set above the rest of the manufacturers out there in the world.
I agree. And in the world, I think the U.S. should be a leader. And I think that the only way to lead is not by control, but by example.
Agreed.
And that means citizens, businesses, doing things that make financial sense, doing things that make showing good responsibility, but never forced.
Well, this is where we need to get back to the fact that we are a republic.
Yeah.
And the government is a form of system. Democracy is a form of government we chose to govern ourselves by. So all these regulations and things need to start at the ground of the republic and work up through there.
Right. We are a constitutional republic, which means that we elect people to make decisions.
And those are the people that we need to talk to more to understand our positions in manufacturing and where we want to be.
Which is going to have to be a topic for another day because we are way past. And
hey, shout out to Pete. Pete said, "Love the new Joe Rogan podcast vibe."
Well, that's a big compliment right there.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We'll have to do some more debates.
Yeah, well, hey.
Yeah, it's fun.
Unfortunately, I live in that world, so
we can get in trouble with those too.
Yeah, we can get in trouble. All right. Well, for now, I'm Mark Beach.
John Dotson, thank you once again. Like, share, subscribe. Any questions, you have our information. Reach out to us. Let us know. Thank you once again.
We really appreciate you joining us. Check out the shorts and be back here next Monday at 10 a.m. for round 2 of the Octagon.
Is that what we're shooting for?
Take care.